Folks, so right now procedurally, we're coming out of closed session, so we're going to have a motion in just a moment, a certification, and then we will close out our workshop for the evening and begin our meeting for the evening. Ms. Smith.
To reconvene to open session.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Smith.
Whereas the Powhatan County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Powhatan School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only public business matters were as identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Aye.
All right, next item on our agenda is adjournment of the workshop.
Chairman, make a motion, we adjourn the workshop.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment of our workshop, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. All right, so now we'll transition to our meeting in just a moment. Everyone ready? All right, so I'll call to order this February 11th, 2020 regular meeting of the Powhatan County School Board. Madam Clerk, if you'll let the minutes reflect that all members of the school board are present this evening, along with Dr. Jones and our student liaison. Begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mrs. Ayers, the invocation by Mr. Cole.
Please remain standing. Almighty God, we thank you for the opportunities which you set before us, especially to live in this country and enjoy the freedoms that we have. We ask for your guidance in tonight's meeting. We ask that you keep us ever mindful and responsive to the needs of others. Amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Ayers and Mr. Cole. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the draft agenda for the evening. Do any members have changes or amendments necessary to the draft agenda as presented?
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the draft agenda as presented this evening, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is approval of our minutes. And they are the minutes of our, let's see, school board workshop from January 14th, 2020, our school board meeting of January 14th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, I have a correction in the workshop minutes. The first page under the election of school board vice chairman should say Mrs. Ayers nominated Mrs. Emo.
Okay.
And so that would be my only correction.
All right. All right, so that's in form of a motion. Mr.
Yeah.
Cole, are you seconding her motion? Second. Okay. So all in favor of amending the minutes to reflect the correction noted by Mrs. Emel, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Any other changes necessary to the minutes from either the workshop of January 14th, 2020 or the regular session meeting on January 14th, 2020?
Mr. Chairman, in that same sentence, We don't have anybody named Mr. Ayers.
Isn't it?
I thought she nominated by you. Mrs. Heimel was nominated by,
The first sentence of the minutes that I have read, Mrs. Ayers nominated, now it is Mrs. Emel, so we've amended it to correct it, for
Okay.
school board vice chairman, seconded by Mrs. Smith.
okay.
Other discussion regarding the minutes? Are there any other changes necessary? All right, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the 5 o'clock and the 7 o'clock meeting on January
As amended.
14th,
As amended.
as amended.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your motion. Is there a second to Mr. Cole's motion?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item is review of bills and receipts. Any members have discussion or questions regarding the bills and receipts as presented this evening? The January 2020 check register. All right, hearing no discussion or questions, that's not an action item for us. Next item is our public comment period. This is our first public comment period for the meeting. In accordance with school board policies BDDH and KD, any resident of Powhatan County may address the board during public comment. At this time, citizens are invited to address the board. When it is your turn to speak, please come to the podium and wait to be recognized by the chair. Each individual will have 3 minutes, and delegations will have 5 minutes to provide their comments. Please respect this time limitation so others may also address the board. A maximum of 30 minutes will be designated for public comment period this evening. Please address your comments to the board as a whole, not individual board members, the audience, or staff, and please begin by stating your name. The board requests that all speakers maintain an environment that promotes listening and respect. The board will not respond or address issues raised by speakers during the course of public comment, and speakers are reminded that the board chair is authorized to stop or remove any speaker who uses vulgar, disruptive, or threatening language. Your acceptance and adherence to these guidelines is greatly appreciated. Public comment period is open. Once again, public comment period is open. All right, seeing no movement, I'll bring public comment period to a close. Dr. Jones, I believe we have a series of recognitions this evening.
We do, Mr. Chairman. If the board could join me down on the floor, we'll recognize some of our students and staff.
Good evening. Our first recognition is for our Cyber Robotics Coding Competition team. I'd like to ask our sponsor, Mrs. Krista Fairman, to please come forward to help us with the recognitions. This past fall, Powhatan Middle School's Intro to Game Design and Robotics students participated in the Virginia CRCC, the Cyber Robotic Coding Competition, sponsored by Intellitech STEM and CTE Education Foundation. The event is an innovative robotics tournament designed to excite and engage students in coding by programming virtual 3D robots to perform complex tasks and missions. Once our students worked their way through a 2-week boot camp and the competition qualifier phases, they secured 3 invitations to the live competition event held January 11th at VCU's College of Engineering. Powhatan Middle School had 15 students who completed all 103 missions in the competition and qualifier phases, making PMS the top school in the region and 7th in the nation. Autumn Harlow, Caitlin Houston, Zachary James, Ryan Jones, Kyle Marsh, and Howard Toft represented PMS in the South Atlantic CRCC Live Teams event. If you all will come forward to be recognized. addition, Caitlin and Zachary are recognized for winning first place in the live teams event for the South Atlantic region and have bragging rights to the 6th highest score in the nation. Each were awarded a $6,000 renewable scholarship to the VCU College of Engineering, making for a grand total of $48,000 in scholarships made available to our Powhatan Middle School students. I'd like to recognize all of the students receiving 100 Club Champ certificates. Those who have not come forward, please come forward. Sean Bruce, Jackson Davis, Samuel Favreau, Nicholas Gray, Cole Harper, Dylan Kinney, Cote Phillips, Chase Shuley, Michael Tambellini, Howard Toft, and Logan Willem. That's our group. We're gonna push it in, maybe stack a few of you behind. And as you're walking back, I'll note that Mr. Beasley is sitting in the back, and he's the high school robotics coach, so he's excited to see all of you successful coders. Yes. Next, we'd like to recognize our Helping Hands Award winners. Our Human Resources Department has implemented a division-wide recognition award called the Helping Hands Award. The concept behind the Helping Hands Award is anyone, a student, a parent, a colleague, a supervisor, can nominate any Powhatan County Public Schools staff member who inspires, empowers, or innovates to receive this recognition. During the month of January, Dr. Jones and other members of the district leadership team surprised 5 staff members during their workday to inform them that they were nominated and selected to be a Helping Hands Award winner. They were given a poster of recognition to display in their classroom or work location, as well as a gift card donated by corporate sponsors. Our first Helping Hand Award winner, Mrs. Ellen Yoder. Mrs. Yoder was nominated by one of her parents, Ms. Joanna Hoyt, for inspiring. Ms. Hoyt wrote, "Mrs. Yoder is the most positive teacher my children have ever had. I feel we've had many, many wonderful teachers. However, Mrs. Yoder goes out of her way to constantly praise and pick out every positive thing she can about each child. She continues to check in on past students and offers help when your family has had a lot of sickness. She boosts her students' self-esteem, even the ones that don't think highly of themselves. We need more Yoders." Mr. Marcellus Beasley was nominated by one of his students, Miss Michelle Sanchez, for inspiring. Michelle wrote, "Both Board Game Club and the robotics teams are places where I've thought as though I belong. When I first transferred, I had a really hard time trying to fit into social groups and make friends with kids I'd never known, but who knew each other their whole lives. When Mr. Beasley invited me to the Board Game Club, I was nervous, but the other kids waved me in and set up a seat for me. That day, they also invited me to come to a robotics scrimmage where the same thing happened. I'm now proudly part of both groups, and Mr. Beasley helps give kids a place to belong when they don't feel like they have one, and that's beautiful." Ms. May Church was nominated by Miss Amanda Church for inspiring. Unfortunately, she can't be here this evening, but we want to recognize her anyway. Amanda wrote, Miss May Church has been going out of her way to help the students of Powhatan County get to and from school safely for 45 years. Officer Corbin Kelly was nominated by a parent, Mrs. Amy Cardwell, for inspiring. And he's shy this evening, but we're going to recognize him anyway. Officer Kelly connects with the kids at school and personally has become my son's mentor. My son has the same hobbies as SRO Kelly, and he has personally befriended my son, and they chat about projects they're working on. If my son has a problem, he's comfortable talking to SRO Kelly. Miss Phyllis Price was nominated by a parent, Miss Sarah Oatman, for inspiring. Miss Oatman wrote, Mrs. Price shows so much love and respect to each and every one of her students. I knew from back to school night, as her previous year's students ran in with huge smiles and stories of their successes, that my Eli was in great hands. I can tell by the way students talk about her that she is so much more than a teacher. Eli loves to go to school every day. She often quotes Miss Price's wise advice and comments on her no chaos policies. I think she is investing all of herself into making great future generations. We are blessed to have so many wonderful teachers at this school, and she's a diamond at this Flat Rock. This month is School Board Appreciation Month, and we want to take the time to recognize our school board members during the Appreciation Month. The Virginia School Boards Association established February as School Board Appreciation Month in 1989 to encourage public recognition of the roles and responsibilities of school board members and to highlight the importance of public education throughout the Commonwealth. The theme of this year's celebration is Leading for Success, and it reflects the top priority of school board members as they advocate for public education with local, state, and federal leaders on behalf of all students. We'd like to recognize Mr. Joseph W. Walters, serving since January 2016. Mrs. Kim D. Emel, serving since February 2014. Mr. Richard R. Cole, serving since January 2012. Mrs. Susan E. Smith, serving since January 2020. And Mrs. Valerie C. Ayers, serving since January 1996. And next week is School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. The Virginia School Boards Association Board of Directors has designated the third week in February as VSBA School Board Clerk Appreciation Week, with the goal of building awareness of the role board clerks play in assisting school board members, superintendents, and our local schools. We'd like to recognize Ms. Linda Hockaday, serving since July 2019.
Appreciate everybody staying through the recognitions. If you need to leave now, we certainly understand. You're welcome to stay for the entire meeting, but if you need to get home, then we thank you for being here.
All right, Dr. Jones, next item on our agenda is the consent agenda itself. Do you want to walk us through these, and we can consider them in a block if appropriate?
I'd be happy to. First item is monthly financial report for the month ending January 31st of 2020. We also have a CIP financial report for the same time period. The school board facility use report for that last month is there. We have field trips. We have retroactive field trip that our Head Start students took at Pocahontas Elementary, and then we have 2 overnight field trips. FBLA, our Future Business Leaders of America, are going to the State Leadership Conference in April, and wrestling has an overnight field trip for the state competition on 2/20/2020.
Okay.
We also had the personnel docket and addendum that we reviewed in closed session, so we're asking for approval of those items.
All right, any discussion regarding any individual item in the consent agenda, or is there a motion regarding the consent agenda as a whole?
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion is second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please respond with aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Jones, your superintendent's report, sir.
Yes, first item is to consider approval for the lease agreement for the Pocahontas Landmark Center Gymnasium building for the county and Parks and Recs to use. This is a lease agreement that we brought forward previously. There were some concerns about a buyout. We met with county staff. They agreed to take the buyout out of the lease agreement if we took out the early termination of the lease agreement. Staff discussed it and felt like this was appropriate. We can't foresee any circumstance short of a emergency situation that would require us to reclaim this facility as a school that would cause us to end this lease early. So we're asking for approval. It has been reviewed and commented on by both the school board attorney and Bay Corp, as well as the county attorney and Powhatan County staff.
All right, we appreciate you taking that document back and having the reviews take place, so thank you for that. All right, discussion regarding the agreement. Questions, comments?
I do, I'm sorry, I do.
Mrs. Zemel, I'm sorry, Mrs. Ayers, I apologize.
Okay. The school board is the landlord, correct, in this document? Thank you, because I just wanted to be sure. And I think something that I asked the last time, and I read through this and did not see it in here, it addresses the gym and the fields. What about the other part of the building that's being used by a function that the county supported?
Those are they're only in the gym. So the Parks and Rec is only in the gym area.
Christmas Mother.
Christmas Mother's not a county function, that's a nonprofit that we've agreed to. We have a
The school system and the county, or just the school system?
school system.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the county, because I know that they used to support them through funding, but I wasn't
They
sure.
may support them through funding, but we have an MOU in terms of their use of our facility for their staging and
Okay.
collection of gifts.
I remember that, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be included. Okay,
Not
that's
included in
fine.
here.
Okay, thank you. That,
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it was certainly done at the encouragement of the board of,
Correct.
the then board of supervisors.
Absolutely.
yes,
I think
okay.
both boards wanted to find them a permanent
Yes.
home.
And I'm happy we did that. I'm not complaining in any way. I just didn't know if they should be a part of this, but with the MOU, it's not necessary.
It's a
Okay.
separate MOU.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, other questions or comments regarding the MOU, I'm sorry, the lease agreement?
Mr. Chairman, I do appreciate the changes that have been made in this document. My only reservation is that, you know, we have talked numerous times about this property, and eventually what we, you know, who should own this property. This document does nothing to help resolve that. If anything, I think it may perpetuate it. And I'm still going to go on record as saying, I'm going to vote for this lease, but I'm still going on record as saying that that's an outstanding issue that I see that we're having a great deal of difficulty resolving and closing that loop. So, you know, that's all I'm going to say about it.
Chairman. I understand Mr. Cole's concerns on that topic. That is something that I've asked to be included on the agenda for our joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors to begin talking about, or to continue talking about next steps for the remainder of this facility that's not being used currently.
Okay, and thank you for that. But until that discussion takes place, the current status of the building and property is that with the exception of what would be contemplated in this lease agreement, it is the schools.
Correct.
Correct?
We own this property, and we would be responsible for maintaining it and for.
Right. Okay. All right, just wanted to be clear on the status.
Sure.
All right. All right, any other questions or comments? Is there a motion regarding the lease agreement?
Make a motion to accept.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. And by accepting it, we are approving it. So, all in favor, please respond with aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item, Dr. Jones.
Thank you. Next item is to consider approval for the capital improvements plan for fiscal year 2021 through 2030. This was presented and discussed at our last meeting. We're looking for approval now. Original direction from the county was asking us to complete a 10-year CIP, which is what we brought to you. We have since learned that the county has decided to just do a 5-year CIP this year. The only things that are in the 5-year plan are things that are funded either by the school system, bus lease and purchases that are there every year, and we did move the purchase of land for an elementary school in that 5-year horizon as board members requested. So the rest of the document looks like you saw it at the last meeting.
Okay. All right, questions or comments for Dr. Jones? All right, is there a motion? Is there discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this 5-year plan with the, just noting once again that this 5-year plan has been reduced substantially by the projects that we've already accomplished through Sun Tribe Solar and through the Train Energy project.
Over $9 million.
All right. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, Doctor.
Thank you. The next item is the VSBA Code of Conduct for School Board Members. This was presented last month for information. This is something the board has signed previously to begin the calendar year, and is something encouraged by VSBA as a reminder of a code of ethics for our school board members.
All right. Discussion or comment regarding the VSBA Code of Conduct for School Board Members? All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the VSBA Code of Conduct for School Board Members for the Powhatan County School Board, please respond with aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item, Dr. Jones.
Thank you. Next item is to consider approval of school board representatives for governor schools, code RVA, and school board advisory committees. We have not done this year. We just kind of carried over with existing assignments, but with Ms. Smith coming on board, we wanted to give the opportunity for the board to consider any changes. We have included a summary of the various advisory committees and boards, as well as meeting dates when they're applicable, and the current school board member who has been assigned to that previously.
All right, sir. So I note that on the information on your agenda, we've placed Ms. Smith's name in parentheses by Mr. Kunka's name. So tonight, what we're going to settle certainly is Ms. Smith's assignments, and also if we want to make any other changes. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so discussion by the board. And Ms. Smith, do you have any concerns with the, with where your name has been placed on these assignments? Maybe we could lead off with that part of the discussion.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right, well, with that said, then is there further discussion or comment regarding any of the other assignments for the various school board members to these boards, committees, et cetera?
I-
Mrs. Ayers.
I do have just a comment, because I'm fine with staying the representative for Maggie Walker Governor's School Board and the Code RVA Board, which are both downtown meetings. And I see that you're an alternate, and Ms. Smith will become an alternate, and I did mention that I would not be at a meeting this month for Maggie Walker. I don't believe Code RVA does not have one this month, so it would just be Maggie Walker at 9 a.m. And it's really important that the alternates that attend, because sometimes we don't even have a quorum, and meeting only 6 times a year. If we don't have a quorum, we can't vote on the budget, we can't vote on employees, we can't vote on programs. So I've always been an advocate for people to attend the meetings. So I would appreciate just,
Could I ask you, if I could ask you a follow-up question?
Yes.
So am I correct that these meetings, they occur usually they occur the same day? Is that right?
Maggie Walker and Code RVA, yes. Code RVA follows Maggie Walker. There was talk of changing that, but a lot of us that come from Powhatan and other places said that we like it that way, because then we're already downtown.
Okay, that was my recollection. So,
Yes.
so Ms. Smith, could I make a suggestion to you, if you would not object? I'm the alternate for for Code RVA. You've, I think, have tentatively agreed to be the alternate for Maggie Walker. Could I suggest maybe that both of us serve as alternates for both of those two, since they're on the same day? And if something were to happen to Mrs. Ayers and she were unable to attend for some other commitment, that way we would already be approved as alternates and could attend both of those meetings. Would that be okay with you?
Yes, that'll be fine.
Okay. And just procedurally, that might be better for the board, since we would have approved it in one of our open meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. That's a good
And
one.
I'm happy to serve in that capacity if you're okay with that.
Sure.
All right, any other discussion or changes necessary to this, what's presented?
Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Emel?
I'd like to know, Mr. Cole, I'd like to know if I could serve on the School Health Advisory Committee, if you would be interested in switching or just giving up. Okay. Well, excuse me, if you would be interested in stepping back.
Sure, I'm okay with that. I'm committed to do some things for the next meeting, but after that,
Oh.
if you want to come to the next meeting and kind of pick up where we are, then we're fine to go. I'm fine with that. I'd be happy to step
Okay.
aside and let someone else work on that committee.
Thank you. Would you be interested in taking my gifted advisory?
If I had a choice, Ms. Ink, I would rather stay on where I
Okay.
am and take the other one, but
Okay.
I don't mind, we're talking about doing this from now to September, is that what this is? Or-
Yeah, I would suggest we just do this to our date when we make these assignments. I think we're doing this to accommodate placing Ms. Smith on the appropriate committees.
So if that's the case, then let's just wait until September. and let's
Okay.
switch it.
All right, that sounds fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, other changes or assignments? All right, so is that all that we have? So just to summarize this and make sure that I didn't miss anything. So we're assigning Ms. Smith to be the permanent representative on these committees, at least through September, for the ones where she's currently designated. And also, we're going to make the one change to Code RVA. She'll be added as an alternate to that assignment. I'll be added as an alternate to the Maggie Walker Governor's School. So that'll mean she and I will both be alternates to Mrs. Ayers. And then also, she and I will both be alternates. We'll both be alternates to Mrs. Ayers on both Code RVA and Maggie Walker. Is that right? Correct? All right. All right, so we have very much an amended document. So can we wrap, I've just made that in the form of a motion. Is there a second to my motion as presented?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor of approving what I have just announced as the amended version of these assignments, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now we have in front of us an amended list of assignments for committees. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve as amended. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amended version is approved as presented. Thank you very much. All right, Dr. Jones.
Thank you. Next item is appointment of school board representatives to the county's audit committee. The county has requested, per the bylaws of this committee, to have two appointees from the school board to serve on the audit committee.
Okay.
I believe Ms.
Had been Mrs. Ayers and Mr. Kunkel? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and is, per the bylaws, is it required, can Ms. Ayers continue, or do we need to have two new members?
Could
What is your
continue.
preference?
I could continue. I believe that I could continue. I've done this for several years, and I know I did it with Mr. Cole for a while, and then he traded with Mr. Kunka last year.
Okay.
I would really appreciate somebody else taking it over, because it's all about numbers, and I like the people on the committee, and I like working with the county, but I've done it for several years, and it is another commitment, and one that involves detailed numbers. That's not my favorite thing to work on.
Are there any members that have a particular interest in serving on this committee? This is,
We need-
certainly is an important assignment.
We need two.
Mr. Chairman, my recommendation, since nobody's jumping at the opportunity, is that we rotate this.
Okay?
That basically everybody gets a chance to do this committee. It's not the most exciting committee. You learn a lot by being on it, but I would think that it would be one that all of us would benefit from having a chance to serve on.
Mrs. Ayers, and either you or Mr. Cole, are the meetings, do they occur during the day or in the evening?
The next one, I just looked that up, the next one is March the 16th, and it occurs at 3:30 in the afternoon. And they don't take long. I mean, I don't think I've ever stayed at one, Mr. Cole, over an hour. I mean, and maybe
Maybe an hour and 30 minutes one time, too,
the
but
most, but
never long.
no, they're not long. It's not a long meeting.
Okay.
And I think that's a fair recommendation, I mean, because it is something that we should be involved in, since we do have such a large part of the county's budget.
I'm willing to do one of the two, but we would certainly need another. As long as the board is in agreement with that, I'm willing to be one of the two. We can vote in a moment, but is there another member that would like to serve?
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
I'll bite.
All right, so, Mr. Cole, would you like to make a motion that Ms. Smith?
Sure. I'll make a motion that our appointees to the audit committee for this coming year are Mr. Walters and Ms. Smith.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0, I believe. All right, next item.
Mr. Walters, excuse me, I'm
Mrs.
sorry.
Ayers. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hockaday, would you send the information with the two new members of that committee to the audit committee? I mean, the financial person at the county, so they will know who to send the information to for the next meeting? Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Walters.
Next item is the gifted advisory report. Dr. Alejandro, who facilitates that group, is going to be introducing, I think, the committee chair, who's going to talk about the report.
Yes. So the Gifted Advisory Committee submits a report on the extent to which our local gifted education plan is being met by the school division. During the spring of this past year, the committee gathered data through surveying gifted students, parents, teachers, and administrator, and a report states the committee's finding and recommendations. But this year, the committee actually created a shorter, more targeted survey so that we could get a deeper review of survey trends over recent years. I'd like to thank the committee and those who evaluated the survey and produced the report, Tiffany Abendanza, Alicia Amos, Bridget Kinnear, and Jennifer Cabanis, and I'd like to welcome Ms. Tiffany Abendanza to give our report.
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know why you didn't try to say my name. Come on. It's not
You
that
picked
hard.
up on that, didn't you?
You know what? Every day. It just is what it is. So I thank you for the opportunity to come and give our report to you guys again, and I appreciate the continued support of Ms. Emil on this committee. To reiterate, we did notice that we had been giving you the same report for the last several years. It was the same questionnaire, the same survey, and so we wanted to look at some of the findings in that and just dive in a little deeper with the survey this year, and it was also shorter, which allowed parents to take a little more time, or gave them more time back, so they were willing to do our survey. On the back of the handout is a graph that kind of summarizes the bulk of the narrative. That summarizes how the screening process currently works. For all elementary, middle, and high school students, they found out about the TAG program within their elementary opportunity while they're in the elementary school. And for those parents, 64% of them learned about it from their teacher. So this graph just shows the variety of ways that from the 160 folks who responded, where they would like to see additional screening priorities. This is something that Dr. Alejandro is looking at. She has done a survey across other school systems, and we are not out of alignment with other schools in how we approach this, but we did want to look at it more deeply. So what I'm really going to focus on is some of the feedback that we got from parents in additional ways and from administrators and teachers. Within the elementary set, several teachers did request training on when they should refer a child. And if this is the primary way that parents are learning about the program and the feeder for the middle and high school programs, the teachers are a key element in making sure that we identify the proper students. So we need to see if there's an opportunity to increase that training. 72% of elementary school parents would like to see additional differentiation in the classroom. So that's not their time with their TAG teacher, that's when they're with their home teacher. That's making sure that differentiation opportunities are given to those students. When we had the 2018-19 survey, 100% of educators agreed that differentiation for these students was the proper in-class method, but only 64% reported using it daily. And so this survey, we said, okay, if you agree that 100% of the time it's the right thing to do, but it's just time-consuming or it's cumbersome, what ways could we approach helping differentiation be something that you do on a more regular basis? So those bulleted items follow within that. Smaller class sizes they spoke to, more planning time with their gifted teacher, professional development, additional items that I would encourage you to look at when you have time. But the differentiation is the factor that's unique to elementary school because they are in their classroom primarily and they only have 30 minutes with their TAG teacher. So at the middle school level, that model, the TAG resource is external to their classroom, and the classes are self-selected at a higher level, or they're placed in a higher level class in the middle school area. So the focus of parents is that they would like to see more academic competitions or field trips available to these students. A particular item that came up in the comment feedback was that advanced grouped classes are a positive for students, so the fact that they have opportunities to go to those advanced classes is beneficial. Additional comments that we got back from school teachers, one of significance was that they said additional assistance in the classroom from the TAG teacher would be beneficial. We talked about this at our last TAG meeting, that there's a concentration. When you are at the elementary model, there are 3 resources serving the 5 grades. And when you get to the middle school model, there's 1 resource serving 3, but it's a bigger population of students. So I would like to have consideration for where that resource might be, or what additional resources might be put to the middle school if that was appropriate. In the high school level of the survey of significance was a comment that they would like to request training for teachers on how to identify gifted students who are economically disadvantaged or twice exceptional. Again, going back to if the identification happens in the elementary school, maybe the resource needs to be trained at the elementary level for when to identify or how to identify students who fall into those categories. High school parents would like to see additional classroom differentiation time and competitions. At the high school, there are so many programs for students to self-select. They really do have the opportunity to be at the right level for where they want to be. So some comments from parents were that the program could offer more social support to those students. And also some parents were fearful that the gifted program at this level is just working faster. Several requested a focus on more in-depth learning or exploring areas of interest and giftedness. Next year, we will go back to the full-length survey that you've seen in the past. We are open to, if there were 1 or 2 questions that you would like to explore with parents, we're happy to put those on it and put it out, this survey, which would go out in May or June this year. Did you guys have any questions?
Questions from the board or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Emel.
I'd just like to thank Mrs. Abendanza for all of her support of leading this group of parents, and appreciate the time that she puts into it for our school system.
Happy
Thank
to
you.
do so. And we have good snacks, Mr. Cole, and our meetings are about an hour and a half. So,
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Cole.
I too thank you for this concise report. It's very easy to look at and read. My question is, we survey parents of gifted students. You know, the question about referral, to me, we ought to be surveying everybody, not just gifted parents, because that points, if we're not surveying the other parents and they don't know anything about it, and they've never been referred, then, you know, I'm not sure that we're capturing what we want to capture there. So just a thought. You know, I don't know how you do that or what you want to do, but you know, I do have, you know, I think we have a great program. We've got great people working in it. But if you're not selected early on, do you get lost in the system? And you know, are there opportunities, and are you encouraged to you know, to look at it again later on? I don't know the answers to those questions. I'm just sitting up here thinking off the top of my head. But I do think that that ought to be a question we ask the population at large is, do you know anything about giftedness, and do you know how to refer, you know, do you know how to inquire about it if, you know, if you want to ask a question? But I do appreciate your hard work. Thank you so much for doing that.
appreciate it.
Yes, certainly.
I will say that the survey, what's been useful, while I'm only aware of a survey for TAG, it's been a useful tool to go back and forth to talk to the school, to talk to you guys, to talk to parents. I would advocate for each of the elementary, middle, and high schools to consider doing a survey that not focused on TAG, but a survey of either ways or means that the schools and the administration and the parents could find more commonality, because there are not opportunities to have that dialogue in a simplified way.
Art.
So,
Thank you.
Dr. Jones.
Thanks. And Ms. Abendanza? Danza,
like Tony Danza,
yes.
yeah.
Has a good suggestion, and next year, we'll be doing the staff and student climate survey again. We'll do that every 2 years, and our goal is to make sure we do a parent survey as well, because we haven't done one in a while. So we can include, and if we contract with somebody, there's usually some set questions that will mirror the student and staff, but we'll also have some opportunities to add a few questions of our own, and I think a question along those lines, or a couple questions about giftedness would be appropriate, and we can that way get it out in the hands of all parents and get a broader. Yep.
Thank you.
Are there other questions or comments? I would just echo, thank you for being here this evening, for your engagement with the committee, for your presentation. Thank you for your time in doing this. We sincerely appreciate it.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Next item, Dr. Jones.
Yes, sir. Next item is a facility update. I'll ask Dr. Tibbs to please come up and walk us quickly through what's happening in our facilities.
Good evening, everybody. As you can see, basically from this document that you've got in front of you, the same item that I put on there, completed maintenance requests that have been put into our school dude system. And you'll notice that over the past several months, I've added a chart to the back of this information to show you and kind of give you an idea as to how many requests are coming in. These are work orders completed. This does not include work orders that could be potentially still outstanding because we need to buy pieces of parts and equipment or things like that. Powhatan High School, we helped to set up for the MLK program. The stage has to be set up, and there's several different things that need to be taken care of there. So we worked to do that. Auditorium seating was also a concern of ours because we, as you can very well imagine, the auditorium gets a lot of activity, and the auditorium is 17 years old at this point, and so the fabric is starting to fray and starting to wear. So we replaced some of the fabric on seating in there and so forth. And predominantly in all of our schools, we had our quarterly fire safety inspections. They were completed. These are safety inspections that are done early in the morning before students and staff get in the building to make sure that all of our audibles and our pull stations are working, et cetera. Also, we had our quarterly elevator inspections. These are inspections that are done on a quarterly basis in all of our schools for the elevators. We had grounds maintenance. Mulch installation was done in all of our schools. We're trying to take advantage of this not winter that we're having at this point and trying to do some of that pre-spring work that we would normally do in early spring to try and beat the rush so that we can get that taken care of. I'm happy to say that actually yesterday and today, we worked in the playgrounds at the elementary schools to get some of the certified playground mulch in some of those spaces there. The only other item that I would like to discuss with you real quick is that here at the Pocahontas Landmark Center, as you very well know, in March it's Youth Art Month, and in years past we have art on display from all of our schools at the local public library. Well, this year, because we have this great space and it's open to the public, we're going to host that here in this building. So we will have art throughout this building so that the public can see it and come in. It'll be art in here during the board meeting and so forth. And so we'll have an open house, so we'll send you that date as soon as we solidify that.
Will that be sent division-wide, like will all the, okay. Good.
Yeah, all the art teachers came up and toured the space and looked at it because several of them hadn't even come here since we've made some adjustments, and they fell in love with it and said, yes, we can do all kinds of stuff here. So they're excited about having their own space, not necessarily the library.
All right, other questions or comments for Dr. Tibbs? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Jones.
Yeah, the last item for the superintendent's report is just a summary of Black History Month activities and calendars. I sent the board a flyer that's also attached last week, and we publicized it on our website and through social media, but certainly invite the public to attend any of these events at all of our schools. You can see we have a variety of activities going on celebrating this month, and we will be bringing you a summary with some pictures and video in March when the month concludes, as we traditionally do.
All right. Any questions or comments for Dr. Jones? All right, thank you, sir. All right, next item on our agenda are comments by the board. We will start with you, our student liaison. very much. Mrs. Smith?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for whoever was responsible for putting up that school board appreciation sign displayed out in the front of the building. I saw that today when I was out by here. Last Friday, I was able to help judge the spelling bee at Pocahontas Elementary School, and that was a very eventful event. For all of you that attended, know what, there's never a dull moment in elementary school, but that's okay. And just thank you again to the people in District 2 that voted me into this position and the many opportunities that are available to serve and give back to the community.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Ayers?
I don't think I have any comments tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Emel?
I want to start with the MLK breakfast. Was nicely attended, and the committee was very excited to give out so many scholarships, and thanking the Dr. Massa and the high school team for helping put that breakfast together. And also the skit was very nicely done. I know they also worked on that. I enjoyed attending the Richmond Symphony. I especially enjoyed the last song, Take Me Out to the Ballpark. It was just a nice afternoon of good music, and it was nice to see our students in the hallways performing beforehand. At the high school, I've been to quite a few events. The choirs hosted their evening and put on wonderful performances. The sophomore-junior night was very interesting to watch, I guess especially as a parent, but to see the different workshops that were provided to the parents of sophomores and juniors to think, what's coming up in the rest of their high school career as well as college. And so they had some very knowledgeable speakers. We went to the PSAT, the testing, we went to the CTE, and we went to the AP classes. It was just interesting to hear the history of all of these events that have taken place at the high school for years. And then also the instructional showcase to decide what classes that you want to take. So the high school's been very busy this past month and a half with different activities for students as well as for parents. So I thank them for their busy work there. And then lastly, a big thanks to Dr. Prince for helping us get the autism grant. I am so excited that we were chosen, and I can't wait to see what wonderful things that they offer our school district. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Emel. Mr. Cole?
Just a couple things. First thing is the Helping Hands Awards and the folks that we recognize tonight. That's what teaching is all about. Content matter and passing the SOLs is important. I can't minimize that, but forming those relationships and involving students who otherwise might not be involved, and making people feel like they belong, that's really, I think, the backbone of what goes on in education. I really commend the division for coming up with the Helping Hands Award, and I commend those folks for being recognized tonight. I think, once again, that's something I really am proud of. I do want to just say I appreciate the Board of Supervisors giving us information on the budget and providing us with some good news, and I hope that good news continues throughout the budget process. Look forward to working with them again this year. And do want to also just say Ms. Ayers and I went and participated in the middle school civics program, where we got to talk about the school board a little bit. You know, it's a great opportunity for us to interact with students, and I wonder whether it might be something that, you know, I guess the Leadership Academy does that to some degree too, but it was great information, great time listening to them and hearing their questions, and when I asked them why they thought we wanted to be on the school board, they said because of the money. So anyway, I don't know if we corrected that or not. They thought $4,000 was a lot of money, but anyway. Last thing is related to the electric bus a little bit, and I had a request from a teacher that the school board look into putting in electric charging stations for electric cars on school grounds. I said, I don't think it's anything we've ever thought about, and I said, I don't know that there's a big demand for it, but I'm guessing there's probably a grant out there somewhere that might help us do that. It might be something we want to look at, but I'm relaying that information on to the board. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cole. All right, so I just have two items. The first is I had the privilege of representing the school board in presenting the resolution that I believe we voted and approved in November at the Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast. It was an honor to do that, and I was assisted by a young lady who is a constituent in my district. Her name is Gemma Cabanis, and Gemma is a student at Powhatan Elementary School, and she practiced with our resolution for several weeks prior to the breakfast and read almost the entire resolution by herself, and I thought that she did a wonderful job. And she is the daughter of Josh and Jennifer Cabanis. So I wanted to recognize her tonight and thank her publicly for her help. And she had a good time, but if you were there, she stood behind the podium, and when she pulled the microphone down, all you could see was the top of her ponytail. But she did a very good job. So the second item that I have is a more personal note. My youngest son injured himself rather badly at the high school, and I just wanted to, as a parent, thank the high school staff for the very professional manner in which they handled that. You helped him to get through that, and I called Dr. Jones and commended him and asked him to commend the staff, but also particularly the football coach called my wife and told her that they would keep an eye on him and make sure he was okay. And I really appreciated that. So it meant quite a bit. So thank you for that. Dr. Jones.
Yeah, I just wanted to give the board a heads up. I've had several teachers that have reminded me that we haven't had, we've had a lot of liquid precipitation, but no frozen precipitation this year. It's been a long haul and will be a long haul. So I say this knocking on wood, but if we don't miss any other time the rest of February, I will be bringing forward a recommended calendar change to the board. We do have 2 snow days built in. So we'll look at a couple days that we currently have as school days. We're thinking the Friday before Memorial Day, which we've done previously when we didn't have any snow, and also possibly ending a day early so that teachers can get checked out on Friday instead of coming back on that Monday. So fingers crossed that we don't miss any more time and that we're able to provide some relief to our teachers that are begging for a snow day. But if we do, we'll bring it forward to you in March for consideration as a calendar change.
I think there was at least one staff member that agreed with your
Yeah, just 1 or 2.
I believe I heard that. All right. Next item on our agenda is the second of our public comment periods during this meeting. So in accordance with school board policies BDDH and KD, any resident of Powhatan County may address the board during public comment. At this time, citizens are invited to address the board. When it's your turn to speak, please come to the podium and wait to be recognized by the chair. Each individual will have 1 minute, and delegations will have 5 minutes to provide their comments. Please respect this time limitation so others may also address the board. A maximum of 30 minutes will be designated for public comment this evening. Please address your comments to the board as a whole, not to individual board members, the audience, or staff. And please begin by stating your name. The board requests that all speakers maintain an environment that promotes listening and respect. The board will not respond or address issues raised by speakers during the course of public comment. Speakers are reminded that the board chair is authorized to stop or remove any speaker who uses vulgar, disruptive, or threatening language. Your acceptance and adherence to these guidelines is greatly appreciated. Public comment period is open. Welcome.
Good evening. I am Patty Trojanowski. I formerly taught for the county I'm appreciative of everything that the county has done. The issue that I want to speak about first is to thank the work that went on for the gifted components to gather data that we could really look at and develop activities and other things for the children. I think it's important when I come up here to talk about that, because Mr. Cole, you talked about making that more broad spectrum so that we're looking at the gifts and talents of everyone that we're looking at. I think one of the pieces of that, and I'm speaking just as a parent now too, is that parents need to really understand what's involved in that process earlier on. So when we're having back to school nights, when we're having other things sort of going on, letting them know what some of these processes are. Also, and I don't know if this is still true, but the process that we use for students to be identified involves portfolios and other components that are collected. And a lot of times those portfolios come right then. So I think we should be collecting portfolios and looking at those things for students along the way. I appreciate your time, Board.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, public comment period is open. Once again, public comment period is open. All right, seeing no movement, I'll bring public comment period to a close. Next item on our agenda is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move we adjourn?
Second.
Ms. Smith has made a motion. Ms. Ayers has seconded the motion. All in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned.
All right, good stuff. Thank you.